Welcome back to level 6. Now level 6 is going to be broken up into two parts. The very first part is we're going to be converting between fraction and decimal and fraction. So all we are going to be doing is changing from one form to another form. And then in part 2, which is 6.3, we're going to determine if a decimal is repeating or terminating decimal. So let's jump right into the vocabulary. These are the vocabulary that you'll need for this part, and then the rest of the vocabulary you'll need for the next part. So you should have all your vocabulary filled out by the time you're done with all of this. Make sure you also have a calculator, because we're going to do a little calculator work, and I'm going to have you put some numbers in the calculator. The very first one is decimal. It's just part of a number. It's a part of a number. So like 0.2, we don't have all of it. We have 2/10 of a number. But we also can have whole numbers and part of another number. So 7 and 14/100 of another number. A fraction is really a division problem. So that's how we're going to view fractions in this level, is a fraction's a division problem. Numerator divided by denominator. Okay, that's what a fraction is. It's part of a whole. So like if I have 2/3, I have 2 of 3 pieces. So I have something broken up into 3, and I have 2 of those. So I have 2/3. I have a part of a whole. Numerator and denominator, we can use that same example. Numerator is the top number, denominator is the bottom number. Numerator goes on top, and denominator is on the bottom. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, you might want to draw this, or at least draw, you don't need to draw the place value chart, but just the fraction to decimal, decimal to fraction. And we're going to talk about how we convert from a fraction to decimal and a decimal to fraction without a calculator, and then I'm going to show you how to use a calculator. So the very first thing is, if I give you a fraction, like let's say 2/3, and I want to change it to a decimal, as we just discussed, that's really a division problem. 2 divided by 3. So make the division problem. 2 goes in the box, 3 on the outside, add your decimal, and 3 zeros, and then just divide. So 3 cannot go into 2, so I put a 0 up there, and 3 times 0 is 0. And so then I take it into, excuse me, into 20. 3 goes into 20, 6 times 3 is 18. I subtract, I get 2, I bring down my next 0. 3 goes into 20 6 times, 6 times 3, 18. Some of you can start seeing the pattern. We're getting the same remainder every single time. And bring down that 0, goes in 6 times. And that 6 is going to repeat over and over again. So the decimal would be 0.6. I put this little line over it. We're going to talk about that in the next lesson. But all that line means is that 6 repeats over and over again, and it never ends. Okay? So to take a fraction to a decimal, numerator divided by denominator. So how do I take a decimal to a fraction? Well, that's where the place value chart comes in. If you know your place values, all you have to do is read the number using your place values, and then should put it into fraction form. And I'll show you how that works. So let's say I have 0.6. Well, if I read this correctly, I have 0 whole numbers and 6. And notice the 6 is in the tens place. So if I wrote this on here, 0.6, the 6 would be in the tens place. So I have 6/10. There is your fraction form. 0.6 is the same thing as 6/10. You just read your place value chart. Now, that's not simplest form, so I have to make it simplest form. So both of them can be divided by 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3/5. So 0.6 as a fraction is 3/5. It's just a different form. Same number, just a different form. Let's try one more of those. 0.21. Place value chart, 0.21. If you want a place value chart, I have them in my room. Just let me know and you can borrow one. Notice that last digit is in the hundredths place value. So I'm going to place it out of a 100. So the number is 21. Last digit is in the hundredths place, so it's 21 hundredths. And that cannot be simplified, so 0.21 in fraction form is 21 over hundredths. So let's show you how to use a calculator to do these. So same thing, fraction to decimal. Okay, so fraction to decimal. Divide. 1/6 means 1 divided by 6. So grab your calculator and put this in your calculator for me. And I'll show you how that works. Here's our 1. So we hit 1, and then we hit the divide sign, and then 6. And enter. And it should give us 0.16, and the 6 keeps going, so I just put that little line over it. So 1/6 as a fraction is 0.16. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you another way to solve these. Instead of using the divide sign, we're going to use the numerator-denominator. Numerator-denominator button. And if you look on your calculator, it's right here. It says N/D. So first things first, push that button. And you will see it starts flashing. Okay? And I want you to put, let's do 2/5. So put 2, and then you might have to use your arrows to scroll down. So you might have to push your arrow down to scroll down, and then put 5 on the bottom. Okay? Now, if you just hit enter, it's just going to give you 2/5. And if it needs to be simplified, if you hit enter, it'll automatically simplify for you. But we want to take this and change this to a decimal. So there is a button to change this to a decimal. And the button is right here at the bottom, right above the enter. It's those 2 arrows. So you would do the N/D button. Ooh. Push your 2 arrows, and then hit the enter. So the 2 arrows, and then push the enter key. And you're just scrolling down until you get to that. Okay? And enter, and it should give you 0.4. Okay? And there's your decimal. I took my fraction to my decimal. Now, what if I have a whole number? There are 2 ways to do this. So let's do 3 and 2/9. There's 2 ways to do this. One, you can hit the N/D button, and then you can scroll in front of it using your arrows, okay, and put the 3 in front. And then the 2/9, and then your arrows and your enter sign. Put that in your calculator, check it, make sure you know how to do that. And if you need help while you're watching this video, raise your hand if you're not understanding what I'm saying, and I'll help you. Another way, just like on a computer, when you hit the shift key, it goes to the capital letters. That's the same thing on the calculator, except for it has another operation. So when I hit the second button, it's like my shift key. It's up here in the right-hand corner. And if I hit my ND, it says U, whole number, ND. And then I can just scroll through there and put the 3 and the 2/9. And then I would hit the 2 arrows and the enter sign. And I would get 3.2, and the 2's go on for, keep going, so I just put a little line over it. If you want to just write 3.22, that's fine. But that's what that equals. Okay, now let's jump over to how do you do a decimal to a fraction on a calculator. So decimal to fraction. Enter, decimal, 2 arrows, enter. Like I said, I don't want to put enter twice, right? So just put the decimal in your calculator, My apologies for the sloppiness. Decimal, 2 arrows, enter. That's it. Write that down to change a decimal to a fraction. Okay, and the great thing about a calculator, if you do this, it'll always simplify your fractions for you. So decimal, 0.68. So that in your calculator, 0.68. Push the 2 arrows and enter. And I need to do that on my calculator because I don't know that off the top of my head. 17/25. And capiche. That's it. You're done. Okay? What if you had a whole number there? Same way. So decimal 2.5. So 2.5. Arrows, enter. And it gives you, let me do it really quick, 5/2. Isn't that a fraction? Yes, it is a fraction. Is a proper fraction? No. But guess what? You can leave it just like that and I'd be happy. If you really don't like it like that and you want to change it to a proper fraction, you can, and there's actually a button on the calculator for that. So you would already have that in your calculator, hit the second button, and then this one up here says n over d, changing it to a u n over d. So that button right there, I want the second part of it, the one above that. And then hit enter, and it'll change it to 2n, wait, 2 1/2? Yeah, that's 2 1/2. Took me a second. 2 1/2. Okay? So if you leave it as improper, that's fine. If you change it to proper, that's fine as well. And I hope you enjoyed our lesson today. And if you have any questions, ask your teacher. Have a beautiful, awesome day.